Hey guys, welcome back to my second reaction video. I'm recording this in advance so I don't really know the reaction to the first one, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And if you did, I think you'll like this one too. If you're new around here, basically what I do is I watch the episode, react to what's happening on screen, and then rank it at the end based on a criteria of sorts that I mentioned in the first part. If you end up liking this series a lot, then I would recommend subscribing, because I plan to react to all of season 1 of Classic. And if that does well and people really enjoy it, then I might also do the following Ben 10 sequel shows as well. But anyways, with all that out of the way, let's dive straight into the reaction now, where I will be watching the second ever Ben 10 episode, Washington, BC.
Who are you?
Heat blast, dumbass. Jeez, did you not watch the show, kid? My god, what an idiot.
But really, it's all in a day's work for...
Yeah, he sounded exactly like Spike Spiegel there. Steve Blum's Heat Blast gets better later on, mainly due to the effects they add on, but here it just sounds like one-to-one to Cowboy Bebop.
Yo, Super Doofus! The fire was just a diversion to cover up a jewelry store robbery. The bad guys are getting away!
Do people actually do stuff like that? Wouldn't it make more sense for the fire to be at like a police station then or something? Because like, the police are still dispatched, but usually first responders would be like, how did I forget the name of firefighters? The second reaction is not going well so far. I gotta crank out this Red Bull to make it better. Jesus, Ben. Come on, they're still humans, bro. This is like police brutality. Actually, that's like superhero brutality. Wait, is that a thing? I guess not. Otherwise, like, Batman's supervillains would definitely have sued him by now. But still, Ben. Jesus. These guys are lucky to be alive. My god. I thought I hated humans. I do love this subtle build-up with all the creatures and the music and ambiance, really setting the stage that this is a disturbed man before we even see the guy.
Phew, smells like a zoo in here.
Guy, it is a zoo in there. There are animals all around you.
Phase number 1. It creates and accelerates mutations at the genetic level.
You know, I wanted to do the typical Redditor thing and be like, oh, this is kind of like the Omnitrix if a human made it. But really it's more akin to the Ultimatrix. Or maybe the Antitrix from the reboot, in the sense that it's creating and accelerating mutations at the same time. Aw, see, he even let him live. Animo's a nice guy. You know, if he was one of these modern day Hassan socialists, bro, this landlord, oh, it would have been Jover for him. I'll just say that.
So, why are we buying all this cereal?
Well, we would have only had to buy the one that I found the
Okay, so interesting tidbit. There has been some promotional art going around of this same image with the characters looking drastically different. Apparently it was super early phase concept art that even Duncan Reload didn't remember, which kind of implies that this was the first episode planned to be released, and then there was 10, which I know sounds really backwards to us fans of Ben 10 since we're so used to seeing it that way, but I actually think it makes a kind of sense. In fact, most episodic series kind of throw you into it at first and then explain it later, in order to kind of both get the audience guessing while also making them super intrigued at the same time about what's going on in this universe, and getting them to stick around until it's eventually explained. Basically, think of Lost setting up a ton of weird mysteries that don't get explained until way later that seem to be magic related, if that makes any sense.
Ben, now I can appreciate how much this card means to you, but don't you think you're getting a little obsessed?
Maybe you're right, Grandpa. I don't deserve a gold sumo slammer card. I mean, it's not like I rescued a bunch of people from a burning building or anything like that.
See, that's what I'm saying. I feel like this plotline makes more sense than what people make it out to be. Ben is a kid obsessed with a certain piece of merchandise, which is incredibly common, and was probably more common even back then. Like 2005, I remember, was the big Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon card craze. But anyways, what I'm getting at is that it makes sense that Ben is obsessed with this thing and is using his powers irresponsibly. Cause like, I remember basically begging my parents to get me Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards so I could build a Blue Eyes deck, because I was just so obsessed with it. And in my case, I was just some lazy fat kid that didn't do anything. Ben is literally saving lives, so it makes sense to me that he thinks he's entitled to it. And this episode is all about how that sense of entitlement can lead you down a bad path. I'll admit it's not as good as some of the later episodes in the Ben 10 series, but it's honestly not as bad as people make it out to be.
Let's check out the pet department.
Please tell me you aren't looking for our breakfast.
I mean, which would you rather have, Gwen? Marinated mealworms or a nice, freshly cooked cat? You tell me.
Someday you'll be all mine.
Once again, the classic series really does set up and pay off really well. Like, this scene makes it out like there's a huge earthquake coming, only to reveal something even more sinister, with nothing but just a few sound bites and animation frames. It's just masterful, in my humble, subjective opinion.
Freeze! Get down off that giant frog and put your hands up!
You know, I gotta say, that was pretty brave for a mall cop. I would've just called it a day and gone home.
We got a grab and dash in electronics. Male, 5'6", riding on a giant frog or...
He's still going too. Man is dedicated to that salary. You know, I can't tell if PETA would be for or against this episode. On the one hand, Animo is freeing captured animals that are being put on sale for human consumption, essentially, as basically slave-induced pets. But at the same time, he's also mutating them in ways that seem abominable and quite dangerous, which definitely falls under unethical scientific experiments. So, I don't know. Tell me what you guys think PETA would do in the comments section below. Ah, now that's one way to farm engagement. Maybe this Red Bull really is working.
I don't need to go hero to stop an overgrown furball.
Now this is one of my favorite parts of the classic series, where Ben has to figure out how to stop something while the watch is out of battery or with a wrong alien or something. It just shows off his creativity and ingenuity without him having to exposit about coming up with a plan or something. It's an aspect that I really do hate that they dropped in some of the later sequels, but we'll get to that. Probably not though, we'll see.
Well, now that you mention it... Grandpa, I was finally gonna score the gold Sumo Slammer card!
No time for that now, Ben. We have a giant parrot to follow.
See, that's another aspect that I don't get people criticizing. Yeah, he could have waited 5 seconds for Ben to ask, but then that giant parrot probably would have been long gone, and they would have had to follow the trail of the frog that they weren't even sure was going in the same direction. Of course, Max immediately grabbed him and started walking towards the rust bucket. Really, the only minor nitpick I would have changed is Max quickly rushing to the RV in order to keep up the frantic pace. But I don't mind the moment being small and slow either, because again, it helps the writers reinforce the theme/message of Ben's obsession with this Sumo Slammer card this episode.
Just like the good old days before I retired.
So, exactly what kind of plumber were you, Grandpa?
Another small hint at the eventual reveal. The classic series really did subtlety very, very well, and kept its cards hidden until the last possible minute.
It's not fair.
Being a hero isn't about others knowing you did something good. It's about you knowing you did something good. Being a hero is its own reward.
Wise, Kind, compassionate, extremely helpful advice from Max. And again, it addresses the criticism so many people level at this episode. He's literally spelling it out. Ben needs to learn that sometimes being a hero is indeed its own reward. Sure, it can be a thankless job sometimes, but you shouldn't need praises or thanks from other people in the first place.
Dr. Animo was a promising researcher in veterinary science, but it turned out he was doing all these twisted genetic experiments where he was mutating animals. And when he didn't win some big prize called the Verities Award, he flipped out.
Okay, so Peter would be against this episode.
Anything about this sound familiar, Ben?
Yes, Ben's obsession is extremely similar to Animo's obsession, and could potentially result in him snapping if he isn't given the proper guidance by someone like, say, Grandpa Max, who just 5 seconds ago gave Ben a speech about how to be a proper hero and about how it's its own reward and how you shouldn't try to look forward to praises or rewards from other people in order to satisfy yourself. It's almost like this episode spells out its theme, and people still take issue with it because they either don't understand it or just don't care for it. The second one is fine, but I don't get criticizing it the way people like Lord or Kuro does.
Something tells me we're on the right track. Good thinking, Ben.
Guess even a doofus can surprise you once in a while.
And you should know.
Weirdly enough, that does feel like something Gwen would have come up with first. Maybe they're trying to further push the idea that Ben and Animo are kind of on the same wavelength / same train of thought when it comes to things like this, in order to further push the whole obsession with a particular reward? Or maybe I'm just drastically overthinking this since I'm out of Red Bull.
You are very persistent. I hate persistent.
Ironic coming from the most persistent Ben 10 villain.
Breathing life back into that which has been long since lifeless. Observe!
Yeah, this is definitely more like the Ultimatrix. Actually, I don't even think the Ultimatrix could do that. Bringing life back into dead cells? That was something only the recalibrated Omnitrix could do.
Behold the genius that is Dr. Animo!
I really do love Animo as a villain. Who else could pull off a speech like that and come across as badass? I guess that's more of the voice actor, but still, you get what I mean.
Now would be a really good time to go, hero.
No duh. You guys get Animal. I'll take care of Jumbo.
Let's wrestle.
Yeah, most people have already pointed out the voice change that Four Arms goes through. But the real change is just how big this guy looks. Look at him, bro, he's yacked. Those shoulders are bigger than my whole body. Okay, that wasn't a good commentary. God damn it. I knew I should have gotten more Red Bull. This is about to turn into a Sniper Wolf's react. The choreography is creative, inventive, and the shots are so impactful and tough looking. Like, you really feel the impact Ben just went through. And the dust it sends up, man, the classic series really was in a league of its own when it comes to fight sequences.
Ben!
Another example of how the Omnitrix seems to have some kind of link with Ben's mental state and knows when and when not to detransform him and when he's in real danger. You know, I think I just realized something. The frog is actually nowhere to be seen for the rest of this episode, but in Animo's return episode in season 2, the frog seems to be what broke him out of jail. I could be overthinking it / making it up, but I'm pretty sure the frog isn't showcased for the rest of this episode. And it was likely out of the radius when the transmodulator broke. So maybe it was still alive and knew that Animo needed its help? Or maybe I'm overthinking things again. Either way, I just thought it was a cool detail I should point out.
Dr. Kelly accepts Verity's award. He's gonna finally pick up his award. We gotta stop him.
First things first, we have to find your cousin.
See, I like how these two bounce off each other. It's like they really are on the same wavelength. Almost as if Max has been doing this for some time and knows when to prioritize. Maybe he isn't the innocent old man we all think he is. Now this is just unrealistic. Those old Android Nokia phones could survive anything, baby. They would not be destroyed. Doesn't matter how high they fall from. I can attest to this, baby. I was built using some of this old infrastructure, and I'm still running today.
Huh? Butterfly! Yeah, whatever. Anyway, thanks for the save.
Ben and Gwen getting along warms my heart. All of this does make me wonder where the name Stinkfly came from. Maybe this is one of those cases where he used it off screen and named it himself. I'm not that opposed to that. I'm just wondering where he gets the ideas from. Yet another distinct action sequence with amazing visual combat and great directing to really make you feel like you're in a high-speed chase.
Like it would have killed the founding fathers to install an elevator.
Max, they were slave owners. They did not care about human well-being. Also, again, where's the security, bro? Isn't this like a monument? They can't just be letting anyone roll up in here.
And here is my Verities Award. Of course, it was an honor just to be nominated with...
And that line alone shows how much more humble Kelly is compared to Animo.
Whoa! I struck Sumo Slammer gold!
Somebody help me! Ah!
See, people saying, oh, he could just go fly and pick it up. Again, missing the point. Kelly is seconds away from getting eaten. Even if Ben thought that Animo was gonna pause for a second, it would be deeply unheroic and just straight up dumb to let him, like, be hanging by a literal thread instead of going to immediately grab him. I get that it's supposed to be a meme or whatever, but, like, actually picture Stinkfly literally either crawling over or quickly sweeping over to get that card and then sweeping back around to get Kelly. His jacket definitely would have ripped and he would have fallen to the ground and potentially hurting himself given how old he is. Or Animo would have thrown him up and eaten him like he was already planning to do. And those precious seconds could have very well led to something catastrophic happening to poor Kelly. And I'm just saying, this criticism does not work for me. Literal seconds. All I'm saying.
What are you, you little pest?
I like that. Animo hasn't actually seen the aliens yet, so he doesn't know this is Ben. Notice the frog wasn't in this montage of being detransformed. Although I guess neither was the rat, but I feel like it's not hard to assume he got it since the M-Mart was probably in the radius. So think I'm safe in my headcanoning that the frog was outside the radius and thus stayed transformed, and went to help Animo when he realized his creator was in danger.
I deserve that award! I've got it coming to me! I want it!
For some reason, that sounds kind of familiar.
Literal mirrors of each other, ladies and gentlemen. All I'm gonna say. Alright, now that I'm done editing, it's time to rank the episode. If you'll remember from last week's video, the very first episode was an A tier, and that was only because I felt the villain for that episode wasn't that good. So, now that the villain is pretty good, is this episode gonna be S tier? Well, I don't know. See, while Animo may be an S-tier villain, I'd argue that this is not his premiere episode. I know I've defended the whole character foil thing they were going for between Ben and Animo, but there is a reason why this idea never got brought up again in any of his other episodes. See, Dr. Animo works better as this megalomaniacal villain in my opinion that's obsessed with genetic mutation, rather than as a character foil to Ben, that forces him to reflect upon his actions and learn something. Again, that's not to say it wasn't done well in this episode. I just prefer Animo as this crazy, evil scientist who's threatening due to his sheer insanity, and interesting because of the way he fights with his monsters instead of physically, as well as the fact that he's an insanely prideful, evil person. And so, for all those reasons, I don't think it should go to S tier. However, it definitely earned the A tier spot in my opinion, rather easily. as like I said earlier, it had a better villain than this first episode, and the action sequences certainly took a step up as well. That combined with the pretty decent story they told makes it a pretty easy shoo-in for A tier. But anyways guys, that's gonna have to wrap it up for this video. If you liked this video, make sure to leave a like and comment, as it greatly helps me out in the algorithm. And if you're new around here, I'd recommend subscribing, because I plan to react to all of Season 1 of the Classic series, and have a lot more plans for future content that you don't want to miss. So subscribe if any of that sounds interesting to you. That's all for now though guys. I'll see you guys in the next upload. Till then, bye!